So earlier in Haridwar and Rishikesh also the river was really bad and in a really bad condition. But now they've made sure that in Haridwar and Rishikesh, all the industries, they've moved away from river Ganga. And all those industries which are there by the coast of the river, they've told them very clearly that these are the guidelines that you have to stick to. If you're putting your water in the river, then make sure that it follows certain guidelines. The worst part which I am worried about is like air pollution. So right now, the first thing that we started capitalizing, which is a free resource, was water. So water is a free resource. We were never supposed to sell it. It was available to us by nature, but we've polluted our rivers, we've polluted all our natural drinking water, and now we're selling it and people are buying it. Air, it's a free resource, but now it's getting so polluted and so it's getting really difficult to live in these cities. So the next thing which could be sold would be air. And I mean, I'm really worried about the future generations because the quality of life, it has decreased.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Reverse Talk. I am your host Raavyasarda, and today on our show we have Avantika Mathur. She is very conscious about sustainability. She is an activist and a pageant aspirant who works with Climate Save Movement, a global organization which has its chapter all over the world. Their aim is to educate people about the impact of animal agriculture on our climate and to make plant-based food more accessible to people. So please welcome Avantika Mathur. Hey Avantika, welcome to Reverse Talk. So how are you doing today? You're glowing.
Hi Ravya, so I am doing great. And how are you doing?
I'm absolutely fine. Avantika, since a long time I wanted to talk about animal agriculture and climate change, and today is the day we are talking about both the subjects, because especially about animal agriculture, because there is so much of conflicting information out there on media, right? In media there is a lot of information, but it's conflicting. So let's do some heavy lifting with you.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Avantika, tell me one thing. The world is getting hotter and hotter day by day. Okay. And we humans are responsible for it. Here, I wanted to know from you, what is global warming? And is global warming real?
So, I'll start by telling you what global warming really is.
Yeah.
So, like you said, that basically the global warming happens because of human activities.
Mm-hmm.
So, first, we'll talk about greenhouse gases, because that actually causes global warming. So gases like carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, all of these are greenhouse gases.
Okay.
So they basically go up into the atmosphere and they form a layer.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, the heat gets trapped.
Okay.
So the earth, whatever we humans are doing, burning of fossil fuels, transportation, industries, all of these create heat. Mm-hmm. And that cannot escape if the greenhouse gases are making a layer on top. So all of that heat gets trapped and it creates that global warming that we call it today. So that is global warming, and definitely it's real. Like, we can all experience it. The temperatures are rising and our planet is becoming hotter and hotter every year. It's breaking all records. So definitely it's real.
Yeah. And we are responsible for it, right? We humans are responsible for it.
Definitely. It's basically human induced.
Okay, so a global problem requires a global action. But the climate change here, when we are talking about, there is a yawning gap between action and ambition. What are we actually doing to fight with the climate change?
So, if I talk about government-led actions, so there have been a few government schemes or plans that they have. So, number one being, Swachh Bharat, how it all started. Then, it came with shifting to renewable resources of energy, and that was a solar power project, and it's actually doing very good. I think that is one project which is doing great. because the solar power project has spread all across India. Even universities, schools, all of these have started shifting towards solar power plants. So these are like few of government plans. Again, there is this government plan of plastic ban, which was supposed to happen by 2022, but unfortunately we cannot see any of its implementation.
Right.
So yeah, these are some of government schemes, but again, we can not completely rely on government schemes, because as you can see, our government said in 2019, our respected prime minister, he announced it on 15th of August that by 2022 there will be a complete blanket ban on single use plastic. But
Right.
again, like today it's we're about to start 2023, and still there is no ban on single use plastic.
Correct.
So that is why we cannot completely rely on our leadership, and we have to take certain individual actions as well. So there are certain individual actions that we can do, like cutting down on single use plastic, and switching to a plant based diet is one thing that we can do. Reducing our consumption. Okay, so what is the major cause of all these climate change and all of this? Because we're consuming way too much. So to consume less. So these are certain individual actions we can take. We can also take community based actions. So community based action could be like we were having MCD elections, which is the municipal committee elections, right, in Delhi right now. So what we can do is we can gather our colony people, or our mohalla people, or our society people, and we can say, okay, these are the demands that we should ask our leaders, right? So you can just because those people who are standing up for the elections, they come to your house and they say, please vote for us. Correct. So you tell them, okay, these are our demands. If we assure that you'll get 100 votes from our society, but you have to promise that this has to be done. Correct. So you can ask for segregation of waste, or having a community compost pit. So these are certain demands which we can ask them. So leaders are there to serve us, but we need to ask them. Yes. So these are certain things that we can do on our own, right?
We need to stand up on ourselves, right, and ask them.
Yes, right. Definitely.
But is this happening? Do you see this happening?
Yeah, actually there are a few communities in Delhi itself. They have started doing this, but on a very smaller scale. Like people have started rainwater recharge projects in their community. People have started composting pits, but only for like a smaller community. But it's doable. It's doable. So that's what we're saying. Just for it to happen, we need community-based action, and also with the help of the leadership, it can actually happen. So yeah.
Yes, it's possible. What changes you worry about, Avantika? I mean, do you worry about your future? Do you worry about the future generation?
Definitely. I mean, I live in Delhi, so you must have heard it on the news that air is so polluted. It's the most polluted city and most polluted capital. So yeah, definitely, I get worried about my health and even the future generation. So the worst part which I am worried about is like air pollution. So right now, the first thing that we started capitalizing, which is a free resource, was water. So water is a free resource. We were never supposed to sell it. It was available to us by nature, but we've polluted our rivers, we've polluted all our natural drinking water, and now we're selling it, and people are buying it. Now the second thing I'm worried about is air. It's a free resource, but now it's getting so polluted, and so it's getting really difficult to live in these cities. So the next thing which could be sold would be air. And I mean, I'm really worried about the future generations, because the quality of life, it has decreased. In summers, I remember my summers that we used to go out and play for hours. But now in Delhi, we had red alert for the summers, that no one should be allowed to go out because they can get a heat stroke, because it was 45 degrees.
Right.
So the quality of life is reducing.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
But when we are talking about the quality of life here, let me ask you one question. Our elders keep talking about the climate change. कहते हैं ना कि जब भी आप किसी elder से बात करो ना, दादा दादी, anyone, so they'll be
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
हवा पानी बदल गया है, पहले जैसा
yeah.
खेती नहीं रहे हैं, पहले जैसा खान पान नहीं रहा है. These are the things they talk about, right? They have seen the environment changing. They have seen the animal behavior changing, the food and weather changing. Do you remember elders talking to you about these changes?
Definitely. I mean, my grandparents would constantly tell me stories about their childhood where, they used to play in the field and they would bathe in the rivers and things like that. But now I cannot imagine bathing in Yamuna because it's completely polluted and full of toxins. And also they keep telling me कि मतलब हर साल गर्मी बढ़ रही है, इतनी तो हमने कभी अपनी जिंदगी में नहीं देखी गर्मी, हर बार इतनी गर्मी हो रही है. सो things like that you keep hearing from them. So even if they don't know what climate change really is, but they've experienced it, they've seen it changing.
But we are the people who needs, as you rightly said, we need to stand, because when you're talking about Yamuna River, I remember Mathura Vrindavan, there are like thousands of people, coming for Krishna temple darshan, and Yamuna Ghat par to agar aap dekhoge, तो क्या नहीं होता है वहां पर पूजा के नाम पर.
Exactly.
I mean, आप किस तरह यमुना को टॉक्सिक कर रहे हैं.
Definitely. So, all of these things need to be taken care of. And it is actually responsibility of citizens as well as the leadership. It can only happen with the combined effort. One person cannot do it. Only when a whole community comes together, change can happen.
How can we bring a change, like when we talk about Yamuna River, when we talk about rivers especially, what are the changes we should bring? What precautions we should take? Because how can you stop people, we are so much attached to our culture and tradition. How is that even possible? आप गंगा घाट पर देखिए, आप यमुना घाट पर देखिए, लोग
I think that is the major thing. So people are connected to the rivers.
Right.
So we need to actually, especially the people from villages and people from smaller areas, they don't understand the difference between a flower patal which is biodegradable and something made of plastic. They think, okay, it's river will take care of it, it's fine. But because they're so connected with the river, I think we can message it like we should protect our rivers. So I think people will understand if we message it like that. So we can also, there are also river rejuvenation projects that are happening, so which are industries which are near the river coasts. So they need to actually be held responsible. So if you're putting in your waste inside the river, then at least purify it enough so that it's not toxic.
Right.
So that is what happened in Haridwar and Rishikesh. So earlier in Haridwar and Rishikesh also the river was really bad and in a really bad condition. But now they've made sure that in Haridwar and Rishikesh all the industries, they've moved away from river Ganga. And all those industries which are there by the coast of the river, they've told them very clearly that these are the guidelines that you have to stick to. If you're putting your water in the river, then make sure that it follows certain guidelines. And because of that, now the river has changed. So when I remember, I used to go there a lot, to Rishikesh and Haridwar as a kid. So there was a time when in Haridwar and Rishikesh the river was really polluted, but now you can see it in blue and green color in Rishikesh. It's really beautiful. So yeah, I think changes like this can actually help.
Absolutely. We as human beings and people, I know भावनाएं जुड़ी हुई है, but we need to take care. Otherwise, future में कैसे होगा?
Definitely.
True. Acha, let's talk about animal agriculture. What is animal agriculture, and how are what are the role animals play in agriculture?
So I'll tell you basically what animal agriculture is. So animal agriculture is basically the commodification of animals, right? So we are basically raising animals for, their flesh, their eggs, their milk, their skin, which is leather, or their fur. So that is basically animal agriculture, raising animals for, different kind of products. So that is basically animal agriculture. And what was the second part of the question?
Asking what is the role of animals in agriculture? Because अगर जब हम agriculture की बात करते हैं, all we know is in simple words like farming से कुछ related, right? But when you are broadening this answer, if you can, just talk about that. Yeah.
Okay, so if we talk about role of animals in agriculture earlier, okay, so earlier when the industrialization was just happening, that time animals were used to plow the fields, the male cows and basically oxes were used to plow the fields, right? And also certain animals were used, like horses and all of those were used to pull carts. So basically that was the use of animals during that time. Definitely it was used for milk and meat and eggs as well, but not as much as it's happening today. So the use of animals has increased drastically over time. So if we compare it to the past times, it was a luxury to consume milk products or meat, or it used to be considered a luxury, but now it has become a household thing. So use of animals has become drastic. It has drastically increased. So that is how it is different from the past.
True. As you said that the use of animal has been increasing. But tell me one thing: what is the problem faced? What is the most common problem faced in animal agriculture?
So if I talk about animal agriculture and climate change, they're very closely connected. So after fossil fuels, we all know fossil fuels are the cause of carbon dioxide emissions and greenhouse gas emissions, and we all know it, we all accept it. But after fossil fuels, it's animal agriculture which is the largest producer of greenhouse gases, which we often fail to understand or make that connection.
Correct.
Because the use of animals has grown so much, the amount of greenhouse gases emitted by those animals. So basically, animals they emit methane gas, right? So when their digestive processes are happening, so they emit methane gas, and methane is a very, very strong greenhouse gas. It's even stronger than carbon dioxide, because a lot of people think, oh, carbon dioxide is so dangerous and so problematic, but methane is 3 times more stronger than that. Okay, it stays in the atmosphere for a lot longer than carbon dioxide does. So animal agriculture is the main reason behind it. So there are almost 17% of greenhouse gases, the global greenhouse gases, which are emitted by animal agriculture.
Right. I don't think
that is
any idea about this, right?
Exactly.
Much about this thing.
Exactly. So because it is such a political thing, so it's not really talked about. Because see, earlier when people were talking about fossil fuels, still the politicians tried to push it down. They were like, no, it's not doing that. Nee, fossil fuels are good, because it was giving them money, it was making them money. So that is why they were trying to push it down. But now it is a proven fact that okay, fossil fuels are responsible for global warming. It's creating greenhouse gases. But animal agriculture, it is proven that animal agriculture is the second largest emitter of greenhouse gases after fossil fuels. So a lot of scientists and a lot of people are talking about it, but it is not as widely talked about. Yes.
Okay, so Avantika, tell me one thing. When we are talking about animal agriculture, and there is a lot of discussion about this. We can talk about, uh, but some time back, we heard a lot about this disease, cow, right? Lumpy virus, I think. Lumpy virus.
Yeah.
Yes, and this had become
Yes.
the epidemic in our country, which killed more than 60,000 head of cattle, and there was also a rumor. There was also a rumor that it can be transmitted to humans too. Is this true?
So, as you said, that lumpy skin disease, basically, it's a virus which is causing skin disease in cows, and it's extremely deadly. It's fatal. So it can transfer from one cow to another. It's a transferable, like communicable virus. But fortunately, there has been no evidence that it has transferred to a human yet. But it is transferring to cows. And see, the thing about animal agriculture now is it's so intensive that one thing definitely is that it's causing climate change because of methane emissions. It's causing pollution, but the other thing is it's also causing diseases. I'll tell you why. Because the animals that are raised for their flesh or for their milk, they're kept in such conditions which are really terrible. So a lot of diseases can come from that. Like, we just experienced COVID. It was a zoonotic virus, and it came from animals. There are a lot of viruses which can transfer from animals to humans, and it is happening because of how these animals are kept, how these animals are raised for food. And animal agriculture is also so. Climate change With climate change, there will be these raising problems of constant epidemics, pandemics, disasters. So all of these things are interconnected.
But we don't think about it, right? We need to start thinking about our future, because this was a really deadly epidemic in cows.
Definitely. That was in cows, and like 2 years back, it happened in humans also. COVID, and it's not gone yet. It's still there. It's happening.
There was also long time back, rats की वजह से भी हुआ था.
Definitely, there are different kinds of plagues which happen because of animals. Like H1N1 happens because of which is the swine flu, which happens because of pigs. So a lot of these viruses come from animals. So it's not because those animals are dirty, or there is some problem in those animals, but because they're kept in such conditions which are terrible. There is no hygiene. The animals also, they keep getting sick because of that. So that is why animal agriculture is a huge problem right now.
So tell me one thing. I mean, when we talk about the situation these animals are kept in, there is a lot of animal food available in the market. People think it's nutritious also, and it's nutritious also, especially it's important for livelihoods and diets. But when we talk about beef production, forests are still being cut down, and people say they are switching to eat more plants, and they are cutting down to meat consumption. But this is not happening. We see, despite of this contradictory statements, we see people eating more of meat. So do you think, I mean, what do you think, how does this beef production cause greenhouse emissions?
So I'll tell you in a very simple way. So if we are raising an animal for food, right, that animal will need food, that animal will need water to grow a certain size, because they kill an animal when it reaches a certain size, a certain age, right? So for that animal to reach that certain age,
kill an animal? Okay.
Of course. For meat, they kill an animal, right? So for that they feed that animal, they give that animal a water, they give that animal water, right? So all that food, you need land to grow that food, right? And then you'll need water also. So it's very resource intensive, right? So you'll need land to grow their food, you'll need land to raise those animals as well.
Okay.
Right. So a lot of land is used for that, and because of that a lot of forests are being cleared. So in South America, this is a very common phenomena. The Amazon forests, which are known as the lungs of the planet, they are being cleared so that land can be, used for animal ranching, which is, cattle ranching, basically raising animals for food, or growing crops for the animals.
Right.
So to create grazing lands for these animals, forests are being cleared. Right. So this is a huge problem. And again, methane emissions is one of the other factors. So all of these things are there. Again, there is another thing which people don't know about. That is the waste these animals produce. It's in a huge quantity that these animals produce their waste. Only a certain amount of this waste can be used, for certain other activities, as some people in the village use it to make those kandas, and they burn it during the winters, right? But only certain amount can be used. In the cities it cannot be used. So it's mostly dumped in the river, and because of that rivers are also getting polluted. So all of these problems are happening because of animal agriculture and beef production. Not only beef production, it's all these animal industries. If we talk about poultry, or if we talk about dairy, or if we talk about, because dairy and beef are like the same thing. Because dairy cows, when they stop producing milk, they're sold for beef. The buffaloes which stop producing milk are sold for beef. So this is kind of a cycle.
Correct. And we don't even have knowledge about it.
Yeah. And this is one part of it. Even for the fisheries, in Western Ghats, mangroves forests are cleared just for shrimp farming. So they farm shrimps there, and they cut down the mangrove forest. And mangroves are really important because they help, when the tides are high and when there is a tsunami like situation, they help prevent the tides to reach the city. So it's a very important defense mechanism, and people are actually cutting down those forests for shrimp farming. So certain things are happening which we don't know about.
Okay, so tell me something. Should we all stop eating beef or non-veg for climate change?
See, I believe that it's already 2023, and in today's time we do not require animals for any kind of our requirement. We don't need them for our nutrition, we don't need them for our clothing, we don't have to depend on them anymore. We have developed so many technologies. We have plant-based meats in the market, we have plant-based milk in the market, and now we have lab-grown meats as well. Our technology is moving so fast. So I believe that we do not need to depend on animals anymore in any form. So that is what I believe, that we need to move towards a more plant-based future, so that our children, our communities, they can have a more happier and healthier life and future, a more cleaner and greener, right? So if we envision our future, we envision it in a green, beautiful, clear blue sky, clean rivers, everyone is happy, healthy, eating fruits. But we do not see it like animals, blood and killing. No, right? So that is why I believe that in the future we do not need to exploit animals anymore.
Well said, Avantika. Tell me, which animal produces or has the biggest carbon footprint?
So if we talk about which animal product, so if we talk about meat has the biggest carbon footprint that we can think about. Again, that I told you, everything's footprint is calculated, because how much water does it require, how much land does it require, how much transportation does it has to do before it reaches our plates. So all of these things, if we calculate it, the maximum resources are used to, for meat and animal products. If even for dairy, it is very resource intensive. So yeah, if we compare it with plant-based food, all animal products have a higher carbon footprint or a ecological footprint.
Right. And how come, human lifestyle has changed so dramatically and drastically over
Definitely.
time, I must say. Consumption of meat has increased over the period of, as you said, right? Throughout the world.
Yes, definitely.
There's a trend.
So
There is this trending change how people eat globally.
yes, definitely. But I think another change is coming. Definitely, there are more people who are getting more conscious about it, and it's not just about climate. It's also about your health, your own mental well-being and physical well-being. Because just imagine, we all are made up of energy, right? And if an animal is killed, uh, a lot of negative emotions are developed in their bodies, like fear or anxiety. And when we consume these dead animals, all of these negative energies are coming into our body, and it will then create more diseases and more mental health issues, and obviously it will affect us. So that is what I believe, that these things are affecting people, and people are getting conscious about it as well. So change is coming slowly.
Yes. Let's talk about pets. Okay. I had a question in mind here, that when we bring a pet into our home, majority of us, do our homework on topics like how to train the pet, and their eating behavior or training or socializing. Nobody thinks about the death of a pet. Correct, but unless it's a senior dog or with a disability. But what should one do when your pet life has come to an end? Because we rarely talk about this topic. What can
Definitely.
one do? Yeah.
So I think when a companion animal comes into our lives, we sort of become so attached to them. They become a family member, right? So when it's time for them to go, it's very heartbreaking, and it's actually really difficult for the animal as well, because they're in pain, and it's really difficult. So the best that we can do is give them comfort, be with them in their last moments, and just so that they feel, okay, I was loved in this life, right? So when they're about to pass away, or when they're in their last moments, just be with them, give them comfort, and I think that's the maximum we can do for them.
True. The loss of a pet is never easy.
Definitely it isn't.
Remain calm at that moment, because it's a sudden, agar koi sudden illness hai ya sudden death hai, you need to be very calm at that moment.
Definitely.
Avantika, we have come to end of our session, end of our podcast. Before that, two more questions I would like to ask you here. What do you think, as an individual, we can do to help climate change?
So there are certain actions that we all can take. So things like reducing our single-use plastic that I already told. Again, please reduce your animal intake, reduce it, cut it down, switch to more plant-based alternatives. There are so many alternatives in the market. And the other things that we can do, which can make a huge difference, is that we can start asking our leaders for change. Write a letter to them, email them, tweet them. Even companies, you can ask companies for change. a lot of people, what they have done is they write emails to certain companies that, can you make this packaging a little better, and give them suggestions with that. And a lot of companies do take these suggestions and they work on it. I remember back in it happened with Amazon. A lot of people wrote to them that you need to switch your packaging if they're using a lot of plastic in it. And now they have cut down on plastic, and they are trying to make it more sustainable every single time. So that's how change can actually happen. It actually takes just one person to inspire change.
Yes, and somebody has to take that charge, right? Because
Definitely.
we are so much occupied in our work, in our regular life. We are like, ठीक है, हमें पता है कि क्या करना है, but हम करते नहीं हैं.
Definitely. There are also so many brands which are coming up, which are sustainable and eco-friendly. They're making eco-friendly products. So support those brands, support those startups, support those people. I think that's how we can create a difference in this world.
Absolutely. One more question, as the show is called Reverse Talk. I would like to know from you, how are you reversing your life? What change are you bringing in towards this greener and sustainable lifestyle?
I am currently working with an organization called Climate Change Movement, and I'm the head of Delhi chapter. So what we are doing here is, firstly, we're actually educating and spreading awareness about climate change. So we go to schools, colleges, we're taking a lot of sessions with them, and what they can do as young leaders. So how you can create change, because first you need to educate and inspire people, right? So that is one thing we're doing. Then again, we have a treaty, a global treaty, which we have started, our organization Climate Change Movement. It's called the Plant-Based Treaty. So this is a global treaty, and we're trying to get as many people to sign it as possible, right? So we are trying to make this treaty go national. So recently we had the COP27 in Egypt, which is the conference which happens for climate change. So there we actually had a word with the environment minister, and they will be having a meeting with us. So we are planning to make this a national treaty, and encourage more people to have more plant-based food and cut down on animal products. So that's what we're working on. We're also working on building curriculum for young children. So we've already made a curriculum for children in Cambodia. So it's called The Compassionate Citizens of Tomorrow. So that's the name of the book. So we're also working on a version which would be introduced here in India. So through these little exercises and messages, these children can inculcate these certain practices and actions through which they can be more active and sustainable in their life or in their future. So what I have personally changed in my life, I think I have changed a lot since 2018. First thing is, I have cut down on single-use plastic as much as I can. There are so many wonderful brands which have come up with such good products which are sustainable. So all of these companies and these brands, try to support these brands. So I have switched to these brands. And the other thing, that is the major thing which I have done, is I am a vegan now. So that is what I do. I'm an activist. I speak up for animals as well as for the climate. So these are the few changes that I have made. I have also started composting, and these small little changes, but we are actually working towards a bigger, huge change.
Correct. Yes. How are you composting at home? How are you doing it?
So basically, I have this huge trunk kind of a thing. It's like it was a drum basically, and I kind of cut it up. And I put my wet waste, basically all the kitchen waste goes into it, and then I have sawdust, and then I collect dried leaves. During winters it's very readily available. If you go into parks and places, you can get dried leaves very easily. And sawdust, because sometimes in rainy season or in summer seasons you can't get dried leaves easily. So sawdust, I have sawdust. So whenever I put one part of wet waste, I put one part of that brown in it. So it could be crushed leaves, crushed and dried leaves, or it could be sawdust. So I just put all of that, and then just keep mixing it and just cover it up. Don't forget to cover it up.
Right.
So yeah, that is it's really simple. And now on Amazon you can find composting kits, and they have this powder called remix powder, where you just sprinkle this powder over it, so it will break down your food even faster.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so things are happening.
Yes, things are happening,
Yeah.
and we are bringing the change. So it's a wonderful initiative, I must say. And when you talk about cutting down meat, I would like to tell the audience this one thing also, that consuming non-veg food, people think, especially the gym goers, like protein intake बहुत जरूरी होता है, but this one information is also very important कि animal जो protein होता है हमारी बॉडी को जितना चाहिए उससे ज्यादा है. It's a lot. And that is why there comes these issues like digestive problems and acidity. Correct?
Yes, I agree. Even a lot of problem, these animal-based foods are all rich in bad fats. They have a lot of cholesterol in them. So consuming them actually increases cholesterol in us, and it creates health issues like heart problems, blood pressure, diabetes. So all of these are linked towards high consumption of animal based foods. And so just try reducing it and fading it out slowly.
A piece of advice from you, Avantika. You are a pageant aspirant also, and these are the small steps you are taking towards the change. What is one piece of advice you would like to give to the Gen Z?
To the Gen Z, okay. So I definitely have an advice for the Gen Z, and that is it's definitely climate change is there. It's here. It's happening fast, so we all need to act right now, because I might survive, but the Gen Z, they have to suffer it for a lot longer time. So we all need to start taking actions, however small it may be. Even just start doing something. Okay, just maybe eliminate single-use plastic, cut down on it, or just reduce your animal intake. So it could be reducing your meat intake, reducing your milk intake. So just switch to plant-based alternatives. Maybe try plant milk for a change.
Products like these plant-based meat, they actually taste like proper non-veg meat.
Yeah, exactly. So the taste and texture and everything is the same. It's just a matter of choice now. So just choose the better version is what I would say. And slowly it's coming into the market, and I'm sure within a year or two we'll have so many different alternatives to animal products that we won't even need animal products anymore. So that's my message to the Gen Z, that do whatever you can, whatever ways you can, because we need each and every step counts, guys. So yes.
Thank you, Avantika. Thank you so much for coming to our show. Thank you for your time. And audience, here I would like to say that please follow what Avantika is saying, because it's important to take these small steps. We are the future and we are bringing the change. So yes, thank you, Avantika. Thank you again.
Thank you so much, Ravya, for inviting me to your show, and I loved being here.
Thank you so much. Until next time. Bye.
Yes. Bye.